something about the Owls or that.
That had to be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 punch. That would be great. If you call, I get this. If I call, you get that. That would be great. Hey, everybody, welcome to Miller's Ale House on a Wednesday afternoon for three guys who love sports. We're here with, my name's Chuck Burrs, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Robert Kenny. It's a typical Wednesday. It's a beautiful Wednesday here at Miller's Ale House.
Got the walls open.
And we have our favorite bartender in the world, Sean, here with us. Sean, what's happening, baby?
Same old, same old. How about y'all?
Oh, good. What'd you think about that music?
Pretty good. Like Robert said, it needs that AC/DC scream in it.
Yeah.
Just a couple
We'll have Adam take
blood
it.
curdling. I think ATI can do a good
right in that
blood
first
curdling
break,
scream.
ATI's got to go.
Or just saying, it is March, St. Patty's Day. We could get some bagpipes in there. I know that's more Scottish.
Oh, bagpipes. That would
Well,
be
you
cool,
know,
yeah.
It does sound like DC, and DC is the only band who's been able to pull that one off yet.
That's for sure.
Throwing a little bagpipes in their music. Nobody else has ever managed that one.
Oh, there's a few punk bands that have done it.
A couple of punk bands.
Seeing one Monday.
There you go. What the Dead Biscuit Heads or what was it?
The Dropkick Murphys.
Dropkick Murphys. It's all the same. Hey, speaking of March, here we are in March for 2023. What's going on at Miller's for March? Anything new?
Well, we've got all of our St. Patty's Day specials, the Irish egg rolls, that sort of thing. We've got some new drinks we rolled out. Cucumber jalapeno margarita, smoked reposado margarita, all kinds of good stuff. Patio bar, we've got all the doors open for the nice weather. So come give me your money.
Here.
Can you believe I'm sitting here in March? I mean, even yesterday it was 75 degrees February, and I'm sitting here in shorts. It's crazy. Crazy weather this year. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Big party here for the 17th?
That is a Friday, and Sean doesn't do Fridays.
Sean
and it's St. Patty's Day. Sean's Irish. Sean will be hammered
Sean doesn't
by
do
noon.
work Fridays. He does Fridays, just not work Fridays. All right, buddy. We'll let you get out and get back to work. Thanks as always for
Yes,
your
sir.
hospitality and your service. All right. See how easy that was? You can do that next week. All right. Let's welcome in our guest of the week, the one, the only, the legend in both my mind, Mr. Marlon Longacre. Welcome back, Marlon.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Great to have you with us.
Looking good wearing that black and gold.
Got on the KSU, man. Got to support the local teams.
Gotta love it. What a week.
Go Owls. I'm telling you, I can't wait for the KSU show tonight. So much is going on this week. But, this show is all about helping guys get over some of their medical or mental issues. And if they're having issues, we want to help take their minds off of it for an hour or so. And if you help one person and we help one person, we'll all be a better world for it. So remember that as you go through your week this week. And take care of somebody. Tell them you love them, all right? Let's get into some sports. Sports. Marlon's all excited because he wanted to talk about Moorhead, but we'll get into that in the second segment.
Hey,
Moorhead State. Moorhead State.
Yes, I know that.
Add that state to it, buddy.
Yeah, please, because that doesn't come out very well. If
No,
you don't
it doesn't.
If you don't add that state up to the
Go Eagles.
Moorhead.
Go Eagles. There you go. So first segment, we're going to talk about the new rule in baseball that everybody's talking about over this first week, the pitch clock, and what happened this past week. It seems like it's working. Although at the end of the Braves game last Saturday, I guess they were playing Boston, and it was tied 6-6, and some guy was supposed to be in the box, and he wasn't. And the referee goes there, and he thought he was walking the first, but no, he was out because he wasn't in the box and ready to go with 8 seconds left.
Umpire.
Yeah.
Umpire, not referee.
I knew
Umpire.
where
Thank you.
Marlon
Don't
was
talk
gonna
to me
go
about
with that one.
referees.
Yeah.
I'm not real
Umpire.
happy with
Yeah.
NFL referees right now.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I'm sure you're not about the Super Bowl. So
No, Bengals.
Yeah.
I'm still not over my Bengals Chiefs. I'm not
Yeah.
over that yet. That's a sore subject.
But let's say, has baseball getting it right? Is this the right thing to do for baseball?
Absolutely.
You got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
You can't shorten the game until you implement some rules. They've implemented a lot of them. I was thinking about this earlier. I don't remember which rule it was, but the NFL rolled out one of their rules about 5 or 6 years ago, and I remember during the preseason it was getting called all the time, and everybody was freaking out thinking, is this how the regular season is going to be? And then once the regular season happened, they didn't call anything again. So I doubt we're going to see many games where they
Punch somebody out
to end the game, but they're trying to set a precedent.
They're setting the table, right? Yeah. It's really wild. They took 23 minutes a game off, and I was watching some show yesterday. He said the average game over Monday or Sunday was 2 hours and 11 minutes. That's a fast baseball game.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Well, and you
Now
talk
maybe
about-
the beer sales and all the and all the other activities that take place at the stadiums, they're not going to be all for that. I don't.
You're
think.
absolutely right on that.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
But I don't know if it's 23 minutes shorter for most games. Does that mean a Yankees Red Sox game is like 47 minutes faster?
It could
Because,
be.
Because some of these teams are just way slower than the rest.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we grew up, I grew up. We were talking about this. My buddy of mine, Kerry Greenberg, he's a Yankee fan, and we were talking about Yankee greats with Catfish Hunter and Bob Gibson and all those during the day. They had like 35 and 36 complete games in a regular
yeah.
season.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Forget. I mean, you don't even. I don't even think the NL West or the NL East combined of all the teams combined had 35 or 31 complete games because you constantly have pitch counts now. With all the analytics of baseball and the studying of the game and so when you got all these pitcher changes and called the bullpens and
And
the
now-
ball
but now
games
they have
last
to-
forever, and I'm all for speeding up the game.
They have to pitch
because
to
I'm
three
ADD
batters now,
and
though, right?
baseball has become so boring. And I'm not for these, like batters. I mean, remember what was the player played for the Indians, Mike Hargrove? I mean, his nickname was the human rain delay because he
Right.
would, in between pitches, have to adjust his
Socks.
batting gloves, his tennis shoes, his cleats and his hat and, his T-shirt and everything. They called him the human rain delay. I mean, I'm all for get in there and let's get it going, man. I'm loving it, and they're going to call it tighter in spring training because they're going to set the pace.
Yep, exactly.
I got a video sent to me today, pitch clock versus no pitch clock, and it shows this guy from this year pitch an entire inning before Javier Baez for the Dodgers threw one pitch. Right. And, because he took so long. Every time he gets ready to throw, the batter steps out, and it just keeps going on and on. But it's 2 live videos, so it's definitely the way it needs to go.
And then in Atlanta, when you had the day games, I mean, it's hot.
Oh,
yeah.
And it ain't exactly. There's a lot of shade trees at Truist Park. I remember one time the Reds. Of course, I went up and watched the Reds play, and we're sitting there in those seats with the tables.
Yeah.
And it was like 94 degrees, and it was about third or fourth inning. Libby and I go inside, my wife, to get Coke or water to come back, and we walk inside, the 755, whatever that club is, or Delta Club or whatever it was.
And air conditioning.
And air conditioning. Next thing you know, my whole outfit was soaking wet. We just were sweat to death, and we said, phooey on that. I just went on home, because, we were soaking wet. It's like I went swimming. And so I'm looking at this pitch count, hurrying up the game. I think living here in Atlanta with the heat, that's going to be even better, I think, for all of us.
Well, how about for the Marlins, too? It's probably going to be good for down there and in Arizona. There are a lot of places that are geographically going to be better. But you know what? The people that I don't think are going to like it are the people that go to the baseball game for the event of the game. They just want to be at a Braves game. They just want to be at a baseball game. They don't care about the baseball game. Like Marlon said, they want to go to the concession stand and get beers, and they want to hang out,
And
they want to be with their
plus,
friends.
at the Braves, you have Monument Park.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of teams have adjusted it. That's a question probably to ask, the Braves, the GMs, or their marketing people is like, okay, what's that going to do to you guys? Because you go down there to the Braves game and you get one of those red jerseys and you want there they stitch your name on the back
Absolutely.
of it, or you go to the gift shops and all that, and now I guess you better get there early. Are they going to open it up early, or what?
Yeah,
What
open
you
the
going to
gates
do,
early.
man?
Well-
open the gates early. What are you going to do for
Like-
Monument Park for tourism and stuff?
Like Chuck was just saying, though, people who are, how did you phrase it? People who are going
For the event.
for the event. That's been me my entire life. I've been to more concerts and more games, and I can't tell you everything that happened at all these concerts and games because I'm there for the event. So I just want to say, from that perspective, 20 minutes isn't going to make a difference to me. I'm not even going to realize that there was a 20-minute difference. So for the people who are there just for the event, it won't matter.
Yeah, and it's funny because my first baseball game, my Uncle Jack took me to see Denny LeMaster pitch against Sandy Koufax. They both pitched a complete game. It went 10 innings, and we won 2-1, and it was an hour and 59 minutes. And then Marlo made a point. Back then, that's what you did. You pitched complete games. That hardly ever happens anymore.
Well, because the teams, back in the day, you were always looking for somebody who could throw a complete game. And, about 15 years ago, they figured out, wait, if I can get 5 out of a starter and have 4 guys down in the bullpen who all throw 100, this is how the game's played now. So
that started, I don't know if it started. I guess the team that was most prevalent that shortened the game was the Reds in '90 when they had the Nasty Boys. When you had,
sure, they had,
those 3 pitchers that kept Myers, Charlton, and Dibble out of the bullpen.
Dibble.
If the Reds were up in the 5th or 6th inning, they pretty much turned the lights out, man, with those 3 guys.
But that, once again, that you're probably right. That was the start of it, but that was a 3-man thing. And, a team like the Royals took it to 4 and 5 innings a few years ago when they won the World Series. So,
but you got to talk about Billy Ball. I mean, the movie Money Game.
Absolutely.
When they said take pitchers, let's get these pitchers out of here. Let's take 100 pitches and the pitch counts and go deep into the account. And of course that again extended the game longer and longer and got us even more boring. And if that makes sense, analytics probably lengthened the game a whole lot more than what was back then too, man. Because when I went up to pitch, man, I mean. I remember when I played baseball, I had 3 pitches, man. If you threw one down the middle of the first thing, man, I'm hitting it. I'm not, I ain't there. I mean, I got 3 chances, baby.
Well,
I
Max
walk.
Scherzer,
I walk
says
to
he
class.
loves
I'm not
this.
walking, man. That was my philosophy. I walk to class. I'm here to. I'm taking some swings, man.
For a pitcher like Scherzer, who's always been a quick worker, and for
This is awesome.
and for an infield, if you've got a great infield, that's always been shortstop's worst thing is a pathetically slow pitcher. They're all going to be grooving on this. This is going to
Mark Burley, gosh, I wonder how long a game would be with Mark Burley out there. He just took the ball through it.
Yeah,
correct.
My kind of pitcher, man. And a lot of times, go back to Catfish Hunter and those guys, umpires would fight to get those games. They wanted to be behind home plate, behind a pitcher who worked fast.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
You wanted a Vida Blue game.
yeah.
Vida
You wanted
Blue.
somebody that got the ball and threw it, man.
Absolutely.
You didn't want to be out there in the heat. Of course, if I was an umpire, with all that equipment on, I'd want to get out of there too, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I think from a perspective of baseball, they're going to love it. I think there is a portion of the fans that aren't going to love it because, like I said, they want to be at the ballpark. They want to hang at the ballpark and have beers and have a good time with their friends. They're not the kind that, like when I went to the LeMaster Koufax game, where I sat there and I kept my scorecard. And every batter, I kept a scorecard. And does anybody do that anymore, Marlene? When you go to the ball games,
Not many people.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You know what's funny though.
Some may that nerds like you, but it's like, but you don't really have to because they got it on the scoreboard now.
Everything's there. Plus, you got a phone that's got every single stat that you can check while you're sitting there.
Did he call me a nerd?
He did.
If you're
Actually,
going
I just
to the
said
game
nerds-
and doing
nerds
that at
like
ball
you.
game,
Dude,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
9 years old.
Oh, you were doing it 9?
Yeah.
That's even worse. That's even.
My Uncle Jack said, you're going to
Sorry.
keep the score.
That's
I'm
even.
going to teach you how to keep
take
the
your
score.
baseball cards to the game too with a ball glove sitting in the.
Definitely took a ball glove.
Hey,
I didn't take the
I
card.
still am
Caught
notorious
one,
for
too.
taking a ball glove depending on where I'm sitting.
Yeah. You
I
took
still
one with
remember-
you one time when I went.
My
Absolutely.
first game was '74. My dad got tickets at Harvard. He was so excited. He'd take his boys to the ball game. But
Just at Riverfront?
we went to Riverfront, and we were up in the red seats, which is like you
Nosebleed.
might
Yeah.
another zip code, what I mean?
Zip code.
And Carl Morton against Jack Billingham, buddy.
Oh, wow.
And Bench hit 2 home runs that day. My favorite player, man. So
JB.
Johnny Bench hit 2 that day. Reds won 12-2.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, I think we've worn out baseball. Let's get on to a
We
commercial.
can never wear out baseball. It is
We can
March
talk-
1st.
Yeah, we're going to
Can't
be
wear
talking
it
a lot
out.
of baseball over the next few months, I'm sure, after the March Madness. So let's get into a Bearcat Express commercial. Robert?
Do you need a delivery right now? As in go now, please? Bearcat Express has expedited shipping on hand-carried items, car, van, or pickup. Whether it's from Memphis to Augusta, Dothan to Charlotte, or even just Athens to Atlanta and all points in between, we've got the drivers to get your stuff where it needs to be. Whether your passport's still on the dresser, your 7-iron isn't in your bag, or you have a dog that hates to fly, Bearcat Express with their live tracking capabilities is the courier to turn to. We are the go-to in the Southeast. Check us out at BearcatExpress.com.
Thank you, Blair. For
Wearing a shirt.
got on my Blair Cook
Back-to-back shirts, Blair.
Bearcat Express
Back-to-back
shirt
weeks.
today. So thank you for your sponsorship, Blair, for this and the KSU Owl Show. So let's talk a little bit. We know it's off season. The Super Bowl was just 2 weeks ago. Who won that one, Marlon? That was Kansas City, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Chiefs won it.
Yeah. Call me a nerd. You're gonna guess it from me now, buddy.
Chiefs won it, man. Another
So now
ref call, man. I mean, they were the anointed team this year, so I
Yeah.
guess they won it.
I guess
Oh,
they did.
man.
Here we go. So
It's getting deep on that side.
So the combine started
Everything's sliding.
yesterday, but tell me what's the biggest story coming out of the combine today?
There's a really big number 88 who did not get weighed today. Jalen Carter. You heard that it was a one-car accident when these two people died, and you felt bad and everything. And then today comes out, well, there was probably 2 other cars involved, and one of them might have been driven by Jalen Carter, who might have left the scene of the accident.
Yeah, that's another one.
And it's like, well, you feel bad for a guy at some point, even if you don't like Georgia, like somebody, this guy is the number 1 pick in the draft, possibly outside of 2 quarterbacks going in front of him. And here it is a month beforehand, and he is doing everything he can to squash his career. So I just hope that I hope it all works out, but I'm not saying works out for him. I know there's a couple families who are missing loved ones, and
And that's the tragedy of the whole
absolutely,
thing. Yeah.
absolutely.
But-
Losing your draft stock is not as troubling as not having a loved one anymore.
Exactly. And, there's a lot going on with Brandon Miller from Alabama, and this story are probably the 2 biggest things. But Jalen Carter, to me, step up to the mic and say, yeah, I did this. Not, I wasn't even there. I was a couple minutes away in an apartment. I heard the crash. After you've left the scene of an accident, then you come back and say 2 months later, oh, I was there, but I wasn't racing. And now today he says, well, when the whole story comes out, I'll be fully exonerated. Well, you've already incriminated yourself by lying about it. You've left the scene of an accident, and I don't know if racing and somebody else in the other car dies could be considered vehicular homicide, but I think he's in bigger trouble than what the average Georgia fan thinks. And I'm saying this with no bias at all. I don't think there's any bias in this. I think this is bigger than what people think it is.
It's big, but and at the end of the day, he has already left school. This isn't somebody who's coming back to win another title. So Georgia people aren't going to be as hell bent like Tuscaloosa fans to try to keep their player, Brandon Miller, going on. So it's a little different, but it's sad.
It is sad.
I've always, to the extent in which you cover, God will uncover. What you uncover, God will cover.
Yep.
So my thing is, come right on out and just face the music and get it over with. Like I said, let it play out. It's like the tournament or something like let it play out and let's see what happens, what the investigation reveals, and go from there. Like I've always thought, you're innocent till proven guilty. Let's give the kid the benefit till we get all the facts out there before we do anything.
So let me see this, Chuck, and see what you guys think. So they're measuring, whenever there's an accident, they measure this and they figure out that and they do all this, and they have to ask every person who saw any of these people, for the 7 hours leading up to the event and everything else. There's no way this is getting figured out before the draft.
I don't think so.
So at the end of the day, are the teams going to go to Athens, Clark County, and say, hey, what are you guys looking to charge? Because if you're the
Yes.
Colts
The
or
answer
you're
to
the
that
Packers,
question is yes.
You know,
the
you're
answer to that question is yes. You're not going to waste a number 1 pick on somebody that's not going to be there. It's going to be arrested.
But what
Absolutely.
what are those guys going to be able to tell you as they're doing the investigation?
Well, I first of all, the Bears are going to trade their pick, so that it's whoever wants to trade the Bears for that pick, and then
They're the
I
ones that are
promise
talking
you
to the
that
most.
they promise you that they're checking all these things out because you're not going to waste a number 1 pick, especially the number 1 pick on the draft on somebody who's not going to be there.
He's not going number 1. That is not happening, no matter what at this point. But
You're not even
for
going to
all-
waste a first round pick.
no, people will waste a first round pick. You're absolutely no. They
No.
definitely will.
I agree.
For him, yeah, absolutely.
I agree
No.
with the nerd caller over here. I don't think they will.
No.
I
You
don't
guys
think
are
they'll
both
do-
wrong, but that's okay. We'll have that conversation the week after the draft. You
Dude,
know,
man. You can look back in the NFL and you can look at character issues all the time that players should have been up that they drafted
Mixon.
way down there.
Mixon. Most people didn't think Mixon would ever play professional football because of what happened in college.
Joe Mixon?
Yeah, and so that got swept under the table, and he is.
There were people that pushed back.
They were
Moss got pushed
and,
back.
and the Bengals
right?
pushed. And
Randy
the
Moss.
Bengals pushed further.
Randy Moss got pushed back.
So we've just named 2 possible. Well, 1 Hall of Famer and 1 guy who's been All Pro multiple times. So you don't think the number 1 pick in a draft could have this happen for him?
The Steelers receiver was projected to go beginning of the 2nd round, I think, this year from UGA. Or last
Pickens.
year
Carl
from
Pickens.
UGA.
You're talking
Yeah,
about Pickens.
Carl
Pickens.
Pickens.
And he slid.
You're right,
He
but
slid.
that's a wide receiver. You know, this guy is a freak of nature, and coach can't coach speed, and he definitely can't coach. How big is that guy? 6'7"?
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Carter is a big man.
Okay.
There's only a few of those available.
Okay.
I get
You
that.
want him in your locker room? If this is
You
true?
wanted Joe Mixon in your locker room. That's what I'm saying. You're just looking at it from an angle that suits your perspective at this point.
And a lot of people do that. But I'm trying to be honest here and not be an un-Georgia bias,
He will slide.
which I am.
He will slide.
I
I
believe
agree
he will
he'll slide, but
Yeah.
I think the Falcons, if he's there at number 8, I think that's a buzzer they hit. I just don't know if he'll be there.
And again, like Marlon said, it's got to play out. And
You got to play it out.
And I say this on the
When
show
they get all the
every week.
facts, let's get the facts, and
But
then
once
before
again,
we're
it's not gonna-
speculating.
but
I
it's
don't
not
like to
gonna-
speculate.
But the whole key is that it's not going to play out before the draft. So somebody's going to have to do something.
They're going to
And-
have to flip a coin
and
to decide.
they're definitely going to err on the side of the 6'7"
Wrong.
guy.
I promise you, they will. This NFL will hire their investigators. They will know exactly what's going to go down.
Absolutely, and he'll
Yeah.
be a first round.
And as like I said on the show every week,
They're billionaires for a reason.
there are
Absolutely.
there are no secrets anymore. There are enough cameras. There are enough people out there that the truth will come out, and we'll know where Jalen Carter winds up. And when we do our draft show, the
Absolutely.
week before, the night before, we usually do a draft show where we simulate the draft and we make the top 10 picks. Might have to have you on for that. That might be fun. And we will know by then.
And you guys are absolutely right on that front. I believe 2 people died in a car that there was 4 people in. So you've got 2 eyewitnesses in that car. You probably got 3 other witnesses in Jalen Carter's car. Then there's a 3rd car. So there's plenty of eyewitnesses. There'll be plenty of.
And they were looking at cameras from
Investigation's
every angle around the city of these cars driving around. They will piece this all together, and whether these are the only 2 misdemeanors that he gets, or where he gets upgraded to some type of felony charge, that will be the telltale sign, I think. So,
It's a huge one.
yep, it is. Wow. Couple other things going on in NFL before that. Aaron is out of the dark. Carson Wentz is gone. And we no longer have Marcus Mariota on the Falcons roster. So this has been a crazy football week, even without a game being played.
I'm glad to see Mariota was cut. I thought that was a 1-year deal. Glad to see that even if I'm not certain that Ritter is our answer, glad to see that it's either Ritter or, and I said it as a joke the first time, but, man, I just keep having this reoccurring dream that Jimmy G's coming to Hotlanta, baby.
That's funny. I heard on the radio today that Desmond Ritter is not the designated starter. He is QB1 on the depth chart.
He has to
that's
be
the
at
way
this
you got to
point.
look at it, right?
Correct. Right now, he is the best quarterback we have on the roster.
And they mentioned who the QB1 was in Washington. I'm trying to hear who it was now.
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell from North Carolina. That's right. Thank you, ATI. So that's pretty cool.
How is that possible with what's the fighting?
Taylor Heineke.
Tiny Heineke.
Yeah, if Heineke started over that guy the entire season, how is he number one?
Heineke didn't play well at the end of the season, and then they started Sam Howell in the Cowboys game and maybe one other
the
game.
last couple
and
games.
he played really well, so they're
He's into
gonna
the
start.
QB1 spot. So that's kind of interesting. Falcons don't have any other quarterback. I guess if they had a backup quarterback, it would be Felipe Franks, right?
Yeah.
He would be the only one that was there that would be the backup quarterback. And he played tight end, dropped a couple of passes, but Falcons they have to draft some players. I heard them say, and I listened to Fontenot yesterday, and he said, we love Tyler Algier, but we need more than one running back. And they said there's Cordero Patterson, there's Tyler, but I hope to God they don't take one with the 8th pick.
No.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. But
I'm gonna tell you right now, I just think running backs, wide receivers, they're a dime a dozen, and I'm for pass rush. I'm for protecting.
uglies.
I'm for the big ugly. I always go by the Cowboys, and when they had the greatest offensive line in history, and with Emmitt Smith, I mean, I look at Tuanay, Gogan, Stepnoski, Newton, and Williams, and then you had Nate Allen, the Hall of Famer, on the bench.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody touched Emmitt Smith for 6-7 yards. Okay.
Correct.
And then what happened? They signed Aikman long term, they signed Emmett long term, they signed Urban long term, and for budget purposes, you got to let your line
and
go.
bye-bye lineman.
And
There
then
you go.
you haven't heard from the Cowboys since, man.
And
And then they drafted line. And I'm looking at like the same thing for Cincinnati, Mixon, and they're going to have the options, man. Do you keep T. Higgins? Do you keep Boyd? Do you keep Mixon? And the answer to that question is no.
Can't keep them
you
all.
cannot, and you let them go because you got to get to their quarterback and you got to protect yours.
Absolutely.
That is football. Whoever gets to your quarterback and whoever protects your quarterback.
and that's what I've been saying.
I mean,
for a
I'm at
long
North
time
Cobb,
about-
okay?
about the
I watch
Seahawks.
North Cobb has skilled players every year. We have speed out the yin yang every single year. We got another one yesterday. Easy Amume signed with Clemson. We got speed. What we don't have is big uglies up front and get to their quarterback. That's the game, man.
No, you got to be able to get to them. The Falcons have a lot of opportunity. They have a lot of money to spend. I believe it's about $70 million to go, and hopefully they do it wise. I know the center for the Titans has left, and he's all pro. He's been all pro.
Three times.
3-time all
Leland,
pro.
number 77.
And he said, he said he definitely wasn't going to in another AFC South team. So sorry Colts, sorry Jaguars, sorry Texans.
Texans, yeah.
But and he also said he wasn't sure he'd be going to Atlanta. But it's his guy.
Arthur Smith, yeah.
If ever there's a guy who Arthur Smith is looking at, going, man, I'd love for you to be in the middle of my lineup. But we'll see.
I'm just telling you. Start with the left tackle.
You're
Start with the left tackle, and then we'll get a quarterback. It's like I look at the Bengals. We got the best quarterback, probably there. And here's the deal: if he stays upright, we win.
Yeah.
If he can't complete a pass on his back.
On his back.
The two
Absolutely
greatest trades that ever happened in the NFL were getting rid of Herschel Walker and all the picks that they
not. Vikings.
drew for that. And the other one is the Vikings, when the Vikings traded Fran Tarkenton to the Giants. A lot of people don't know that Fran Tarkenton was drafted by the Vikings, traded to the Giants for 4 years, and then with all of the picks that they got from the Giants, he came back after 4 years. Man, there was a great team waiting on him. They had the big uglies, they had everything.
Oh,
and then
the
had
purple people eaters, right? Yeah.
But and as I was thinking, listening to you talk, I've been saying it forever for Seattle. When was Seattle good? Seattle was good when Russell Wilson wasn't getting paid any money. As soon as you start paying Joe
Anybody.
Burrow or any of these
Anybody.
quarterbacks that much money, maybe there's $59 million on the table
but
for
nobody
somebody right
gives
now.
Brady credit. Brady didn't take the gigantic money because Brady knew, okay? And then you
Exactly.
go look at who the Patriots drafted. They
the only
drafted the
thing I
big
give him
uglies,
for.
okay? Now, but Brady was smart, okay? 6 Super Bowls. I'm going to make more money off endorsements than I'm going to make in the in
football.
in
I'm going to
football.
take 30 instead of 50, and with
Yeah.
that other 20, I want a left guard, this guy who can
Exactly.
run patterns, and that
Exactly.
guy who can hit the other quarterback. Absolutely. He's
Nobody gives him credit for that. And I promise you, go look at the Patriots draft picks. They drafted the big uglies up front, and they drafted, like Georgia linemen. They had several Georgia linemen, and they got to your quarterback. That's the key, man. I mean, I always look at the Cowboys. When they traded, when they let their line go, Aikman was out of football with concussions. Irvin couldn't get open, and Emmett was a journeyman
Journeyman running back at that
runner and
time.
ended up in
Yep.
Arizona. I'm just telling you. I mean,
no doubt about it.
that's a fact, Jack.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Arthur Smith?
Yeah.
I like him too. I think
He's gonna run the ball.
I think he's doing the right things.
Yeah, I like
in
what he's
Atlanta.
doing. I
Yeah,
don't
so-
think he gets the credit for what he's done. He inherited a mess. He had no money. They had
Absolutely.
no parts, and they had no money to go get parts.
And now they do.
and
Yeah.
And now we do.
him and the
I
GM
trust
have
him.
done a great job in 3 years.
I trust him. Let
me
him
ask
go.
you this:
I do too.
what do you guys think about Carson Wentz?
He went.
I think Carson would be a great clip holder on the sidelines for some team because he, as a player, I mean, he had a good year. I guess his rookie season, but he's not going to brown bag it for the rest of his life.
There's
but
so many
I tell you what,
questions.
he's just not. He just hasn't
He's
got
not.
it.
He's
man.
not the front guy. Where's
He, look at his rankings. What, 31, 20? I mean,
Yeah.
I think all of his rankings in quarterback was like 26 to 31.
yeah.
No, he hasn't been, and he hardly shows up. He's hardly ever out on the field.
Colts took a chance. The Commanders took a chance, and
And then they both fell.
then they were bombs.
Yep. So, I mean, there's so many other questions going on in the NFL. Where's Carr going to go? Is Aaron's out of the dark? What's he going to do? But we need to move on to our Modern Image commercial so we get into some hoops.
Modern Image is a locally owned document and photograph scanning company that helps clients secure and use paper files and photos. Whether it's important business files or sentimental family photos and videos, Modern Image is dedicated to helping clients solve problems around paper.
Go Dogs. And I want to add a couple of words of that tonight, but I'm not going to because of David. But I got 2 words I want to add
We
to
love
that.
our sponsors. We are not messing
Exactly.
with this.
So I'm not saying it, but I got a couple of words. All right. So let's move on to college basketball. Great weekend of college basketball. Starting right here in Hotlanta with our KSU Owls, who won the ASUN tournament. Hootie, I'm telling you. What a
Not the
great,
tournament. We won the regular season.
the regular season. Thank you. The title is what
we
I was
won
saying.
last Wednesday and we won Saturday.
No, we won Saturday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday and Friday.
Wednesday and Friday to lock it down.
Yep.
That was awesome.
2 road wins at North Alabama and Central Arkansas. So big wins for the Owls. God bless them. We're in the semifinals tomorrow night against Lipscomb, and we'll be playing them at 7 o'clock. I'll be there tomorrow night watching the Owls tip it off. That'd be a great game. But so many other games this past weekend, great comebacks, buzzer beaters. I bet there were 10, 15 buzzer beaters in college basketball. And my favorite one, believe it or not, was in a ladies' game, Indiana and Iowa.
That girl from Iowa, what's her name? Caitlin.
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark.
Oh, my
Caitlin
gosh.
Clark. What was funny is my dad loves women's basketball. So I'll call him and I'll tell him, hey, this game's on, that game's on. So I called him right before the game, and then I ran around doing my life with taking the daughter here and going back there, and I get the phone call at the end. That was the most incredible game. And then my phone started blowing up with like CBS Sports sending me the highlights of the game winner. What a player.
1.5 seconds left. And
What a player.
Indiana had just hit a couple of free throws to go ahead. And I said, well, 1.5 seconds, they're not going to.
What can the
They're
girl
not,
do?
they're not going to get a shot off in 1.5 seconds. But lo and behold, they did. And Caitlin Clark came around the pick, right side of the top of the key, and bam, they hit a big 3. What a great game. But, Arizona State beat Arizona at the buzzer. There were so many great games. The great comebacks. Florida State came back from 25 down in the second half, I think, and beat Miami. That wasn't a buzzer beater, but a great game. But
You UCLA was looking like garbage versus Colorado. I
Yep.
watched the first half of that, and I was like, boy, Bruins might as well pack this one in. I popped it back on. Oh, okay, they came back.
But the best comeback, in my opinion, was Michigan State and Iowa, the men's game. 13
game.
points with a minute and a half to go down, and they came back and tie it up, and then they win by 6 in overtime.
You know, the Big Ten, they don't look very top heavy, but you know, all those body blows, you know, they're all ending up around 8-8, 9-9. So it'll be interesting to see what the committee thinks of the 7, 8, 9 teams in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah.
'Cause there's a lot of parity in that one.
There's a lot of parity in college basketball, period. I mean, there's so many things have changed. Kentucky is now fighting back. Kentucky was out 2 weeks ago. And
we listened. I listened to that game with Auburn. You know, being up in Kentucky last week, going home.
they
and,
beat them by like 30, didn't
they was up 40, and Calipari took the starters out, and you know, Kentucky just had a great game. Just one of them games. Just one of them games where everything goes right. Your players hit. You know, in college basketball, you're only a 3, a stop, and a bucket away from getting on a run. You know, you're no leads are safe.
But we hold some of these bigger schools up to this, like, you know, Kentucky right now is 11-5 in the conference, which typically speaking they're better because the SEC isn't a great basketball conference or whatever. It's a 20-9 team. You know, it's not as if they fell off the deep end. And you know all the players are there. You know, I might not know Jimmys and Joes at the end of that bench, but you know they could jump out of the gym.
Yeah,
and they can play ball.
Absolutely.
And then that was at Rupp Arena too, and then they have senior night I think this week at Vanderbilt, and but it's March. You know, you got to turn it up in March. You know, you're fighting for, you know, I mean, every day you're looking at first 4 in, last 4 out. You know, your bracketology with Lenardi's out there, and you know what, you start to turn it up. You feel that heat. It's March. This is when you got to be at your best, and you know, this kind of like with the old top, the, you know, pyramid of success with Wooden. You got to be your best when your best is needed. And right now, players have to step up. Players have to play like your Clark and at the end, and it's March. I mean, you there is no room for error anymore. You're fighting for seeds in tournaments. You're fighting for, you know, rest, because you know
Absolutely.
you're fighting for rest because if you want the number 1 seed in the tournament because you'll get a double bye and go to the semifinals, or you're fighting for inches now. You know,
and that's one of the reasons, not just because of the TV contracts, of why the smaller conferences are doing everything this week. Because when KSU wins, they want a week to just kind of focus, get ready. Because we might not know who we're playing.
There was more advantages to that. Let me tell you why.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you know, I'm an OVC guy, obviously, with Morehead State. I'm an alma mater, and we always played the first tournament for us, the A-Suns there. Okay, let me tell you the advantages of that. Okay, let's say KSU wins. Okay, so in which let's hope they do. I mean, for our community and the school, that's going to give Amir a whole week to be on all the television and radio shows.
Exposure
For the schools. And I promise you that SID and the sports information, the athletic director, better put that guy on every radio show in America. Because the story for KSU Owl basketball is huge. You know, taking a 1-win team, turning it into
23
wins, 24 wins, or 25 at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Because they'll be, 25-8? Okay, that's an amazing 25-8, okay? So Amir's let's put him on every radio show going. We got to promote KSU basketball, KSU athletic.
Yep.
And having a week before all the other tournaments are there. You know, because like when Morehead won in 2021, Preston Spradlin, our head coach, was on every radio show. He was on shows in California, you know, the 3-hour break. He was on every single talk radio show around. So we want, you know, KSU to be on there talking about Kennesaw on every single radio show. There's advantages to that. Hey, I'm all for it. Let's go. Let's win 25 games.
Yep.
Share his story. Promote Kennesaw State basketball. It's big for that. That's the advantages of playing in these tournaments early.
Oh, it is. And you know, if we win Sunday, it's going to be 12 days before before we have to play again.
Well, now let's talk about that
week.
too.
So
Now,
you get a whole week
the
off,
beauty
and
of that is, okay, now let's talk about even more. Now, because you think, you know, I'm small business, all right? Let's put on my business hat, okay? Now, Selection Sunday becomes big for Kennesaw. This whole area should be like Miller Ale House.
This
This
place
place
should
should
be
be
packed.
packed to the
Waiting to see
rafters.
Rocky.
You know, college students. They need to be promoting Selection Sunday. I could, who cares? Are we in the play-in game? Are we the 16? It don't.
We will
Who
not be the
gives a
play-in
rat's
game.
who we play?
I will tell you this.
Moorhead will be. We may have to play Alabama. It don't matter. But here's the kicker.
doesn't
You know
matter.
what? It doesn't matter because we get a check.
Exactly.
And we're on national TV and we get a check, man. We're all for that, and it brings exposure to this community and, the Kennesaw.
And
Right.
every eighth grader who's out there who can dunk the ball already sees a team. Wow, this team's pretty decent. Wow, they're going up to Conference USA. Maybe that's a destination for myself.
Yep.
And I thought, like the Liberty game, you were at the Liberty game. I tell you what, one of the best things I saw was the crowd. I mean, that they put on there the way and how
3,059
they were
people.
going nuts, and that's beautiful. I pray they play that up
Loudest guy
even
there.
more. And Chuck, you were there, and
Robert was there too.
they probably had more students than we did for the KSU football game at Austin Peay
It
or
was-
whatever.
It
I
was
can
so
tell you
funny.
that.
I was at the game last night, and Cole Loden, who was a football player, you know Cole probably. Cole said, when I used to go to the basketball games, I was one of 7 students that came.
Yeah.
But last night was very crowded. 2,239, I think, last night. Nothing compared to what we had against Liberty.
But you look at social media today, and look how many of our business people on Facebook and all them was tagging each other, posting pics. Hey, at the KSU game, big win, 67. That publicity has never happened.
No.
It hasn't. And it's funny, and you don't know this, but I went to the cutting down the net ceremony on Saturday, and I had 3 people come up to me and say, I've seen your show. It's really good. And now they all want to be on the show.
Good.
So it's all about being a part of the community and getting involved with KSU.
Mm-hmm. And cheering
that's
for
what I
them.
want people
And
to do.
cheering for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Milton Overton came up in the seats just to shake my hand yesterday and tell me thank you for coming to all these games. Milton, I said, Milton, what a great thing for you. He said, no, dude, this is a great thing for Owl Nation. And he's right. It's an amazing thing.
I'm telling you, if they get this tournament W's and they win the ASUN tournament, what it's going to do for this community, what it's going to do for that school to be a part of Selection Sunday, because none of this has ever happened around here.
It'll be at the Convocation Center where they have
Yeah.
the live video
Yeah.
with all the
I mean,
team
you would
and all
want to
the
be
fans.
there. We ought to do this
Absolutely.
live there.
Oh,
You should do this
absolutely.
live
we
there.
get Purdue.
Yeah,
We want Purdue.
if they wouldn't do
We
it
want
there-
Alabama. Bring them on,
Bring
baby.
UCLA
Well, right
on.
now
Absolutely.
it's Texas in the bracketology. We're playing in Texas. But I
Take them
don't
on,
care.
baby. Who
It-
cares?
And
It
it's in
does
Denver,
not
but I
matter.
don't
Play
care.
the game.
Yeah.
Play the game.
Exactly. And I feel almost as strongly, because even if we don't win the tournament, we're locked to the NIT.
because we won the regular
Well,
season.
even
That's
if you-
postseason.
Yeah,
And that's
even
a
if you
banner
can
going
hang
up.
an
It's a
IT
banner
banner
going up.
At
Okay.
the Convocation, it's a positive thing for this community, right?
And it's all good. I mean, everything is good. But I tell you what, and they're at home, and they got a chance to really set this place on fire. And you know what? God bless them. I hope they beat the stew out of Liberty Flames if that's who they're playing. I mean, that's I guess who they're expected to play. And
Yeah.
and
Liberty's a good basketball team. You saw that kid put up 45 points, and we still beat them. They shot 52% from the
doesn't
field
matter.
and 50
I don't care
from
if
the
you score
field.
60, as long as we have 61. That's all.
That's
that
it.
matters.
That's all that matters. But what a great, great atmosphere that was at that game. I've never seen an electric atmosphere like that at any
amazing.
basketball game I've been to. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
amazing.
Yeah. The other big win of the weekend I wanted to talk about real quick was North Carolina, because North Carolina's first team out right now at Joe Lunardi's bracket. I think they can play their way back in, but they're going to have to win a couple of games in the AC tournament.
I could care less. I'm a Kentucky boy.
Oh, there you
we
go.
we own basketball. North Carolina does not. I hope they get the snot. kicked out of
Carolina
them, man.
is 11-8 in the conference, 19-11. So as you said, they probably got 2 regular season games left. So if they could get those 2 wins and push themselves up to 21 before the tournament, they're
Yeah.
probably sliding
Okay,
in
I'm a
as
mid-major.
horrible 11 or 10 seed. Something
Let's get
nobody
that out
wants
of the
to
way.
see.
I'm a mid-major. I am not for these teams with these 20 wins that played on small conferences that have a 500 record in their tournament in their conference. They should not make the tournament. I'm sorry.
totally
I'm
agree.
one of them old school.
I'm
I've
the
watched
same-
Moorhead
exact same
have
way.
25 and 6 teams, and we don't win against Murray State, and we don't get to go. And then like Syracuse and all them who got beat to death last
Absolutely.
night. I'm sick of them getting it going. I'm sick of these
At the-
teams
at
that
the end
get
of
to
the-
go to these tournaments that don't
Just
belong there, don't even
because
have
they've got
a
history.
500 record in their conference. They should not be allowed to go.
Just because they have history.
And then
right
they
now-
don't
right
even
now
have a
there's-
500 record in their conference, and they don't even win a tournament game.
Yeah.
And right,
in their tournament.
right now,
I'm not
in
for that
that
anymore.
mid-major
I'm done.
poll, when you look at the Kent State, Old Dominion,
Mm-hmm.
Southern Miss, Drake, there's the 3 through 7 list. Those teams need in even if they don't win their conference tournament. These are good basketball teams. You might as well give it to a good basketball team.
Well, we're up to
instead of
what,
somebody else.
14 in the mid-major poll?
21.
21?
21.
So we're up to 21 in mid-majors. That's good. That's a huge step for the KSU Owls.
A one-win team not long ago.
All right, so we're going to talk more about postseason basketball, but let's get on to our last advertiser today, Mr. Alvin Jamison.
So many of these things. I love getting confused because I have so many different sponsors to talk about.
More on the way.
Supreme Lending was founded in 1999 with one goal in mind: to improve the mortgage process, sense out the process, and get your home closed quickly and conveniently. Whether you are buying or refinancing, our goal is to have your loan clear to close in 30 days or less so that you can focus on all the other things you have to deal with. Whether it's your first mortgage or your 1,000th, make it Supreme. Find us on the web at alvinjamison.com or give us a call at 865-357-6500.
And thank you, Alvin Jamison and David McDonough and Blair Cook, for all being sponsors of the Owls Show. Just an update from down at Georgia Tech.
Down at the Flats.
Down at the Flats, Georgia Tech's up 5-4 after 5 innings. They just hit a 3-run homer. But we're in the 5th, and we were up 4-2. And so we'll be keeping the Owl fans up to date on what our Georgia Tech team is doing with the KSU Owls.
And
Go Owls.
I know we've had this conversation, so I don't want to have like an hour-long Brandon Miller conversation, but
Oh, geez.
I did have to point out how brilliant that coach is from Alabama. Did you hear his latest one?
About the pat down?
Yes. So as this guy who delivered a murder weapon to the scene of the murder, now when he goes out and he is being announced, one of his teammates does this and pats him down. Okay, not a real good look for the number 2 team in the nation when you're possibly, you admittedly delivered the murder weapon.
Not a good look for Alabama sports, period.
But that coach can double down on stupid and make horrible situations seem even worse. His words for that: Brandon Miller's pregame pat down was a reference to a TSA check. I mean, it's not like he was imitating.
Well,
What are you talking about?
But didn't they
Why
say-
do you keep opening your mouth?
But didn't they say that they've been doing that all year?
And
That's
once,
what I heard.
No, they have said that. But
AJ,
when-
is that what you heard?
From
But-
what I've heard is that what he said in his post-game press conference is that they've been doing it all year, and he had his back turned to that, and he didn't even know it happened.
Correct. And I understand the fact that a coach is very busy. A coach isn't sitting there watching players as they're getting announced. So I don't expect him to know that. But his assistant coaches, somebody knows about it. Somebody's been watching. And the fact that you want to tell me, well, they've been doing it all year. Well, he delivered the murder weapon over 2 months ago that we didn't know about. Of course they weren't doing it. We just didn't know he had been the guy who delivered the murder weapon. We could go back and look at every single game. Okay, yeah, you got patted down 9 times since that woman was killed. Great job. And a better job by the coach. Great job.
Yeah. So with all that going with Brandon Miller, Alabama is still the number 1 overall seed. Are they going to stay there? Or is Morehead State going to move up to that spot?
It could be
No,
more.
we will
Could
be
be Morehead
probably
State.
playing them in the first game of the
you
NCAA
think so?
tournament match.
So, there are some good teams out there. I can't wait to see the way the brackets fall, because I have in my mind who I think we're going to be in the finals. I just hope they don't wind up on the same side of the bracket so that they can't play.
Chuck knows what's going to happen because he's been looking into the Magic 8 Ball, but he's not going to tell you.
What
just
is this
yet.
hat you have on?
I
all
know.
Of a sudden?
I know. Youngstown State.
Youngstown State. That is absolutely
Aha.
correct. I was born in Youngstown, and
The Penguins, right?
the Penguins. That is correct. Do you know why I'm wearing this hat right now?
No, but is this part of the question for ATI?
It is not, but it is part of everybody's favorite asterisk that's been going on for the last month. will he break the record?
Oh, the Pete Maravich record.
That is correct. So Detroit Mercy's star player, Antoine Davis, is now 26 points shy of breaking Pistol Pete's 50-year-old record.
Of most points all time, or
Most
what?
points all time for a college career. So Pistol Pete could only play in 3 years because
Right.
freshmen
And
weren't
no
allowed to play.
3-point shot.
And there was no three-point line. There also wasn't even a shot clock. So people could sit around in the corner. So it's all come down to Penguin power, baby. Detroit Mercy has to go up against Youngstown State tomorrow night. And if those Penguins can hold them to 25 or less, we don't have to worry about this garbage forever and
That's
ever.
the last game?
Well, if they don't win, their tournament's done because they're already in the conference.
But they're in the conference tournament already.
That's correct. So, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the kid will shoot 50 times if he needs to because they don't expect to beat Youngstown State, who actually is the 1 seed in that particular bracket. But, hey,
But
go Youngstown State.
It'll make me follow it because I really don't want Pete's record to be broken. Although, as you mentioned earlier, it's the biggest asterisk in the world. It's got to be.
It's crazy.
Nah,
you weren't here-
he will hold the record because, you look at baseball. I mean, Roger Maris and Babe Ruth, and then you got, all that stuff. I mean,
So we did a little research on this. I want to get your opinion on that.
okay.
Somebody went back and looked at every game Pete played in college
Mm-hmm.
and determined how many points he would have had there been a 3-point line.
Oh.
And they said if it was marginal, that they would make it a 2. But how many points a game do you think he would have averaged if there was a 3-point line then? Knowing that he's averaged, 44.1?
44.1 was his
What's his college average?
college career.
Yeah.
Mid-70s.
No, 57 point.
57 points.
Yeah.
At the end of the
If
day,
they'd have had a 19.9 3-point shot with Pete Maravich,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
Well, I'm just telling you what the stats show
No,
based
absolutely.
on looking back at the tapes of all the games.
57.
57 points a game.
Wow. Okay.
and currently, just to throw that out there again, he's played 60 more games. 60 more games. And it's going to take that 61st game, and it's going to take at least 26 points in that 61st game. Holy moly.
So let's hack him and get him out of the game and don't let him.
I'd be okay with
Let
that. A
him,
little
let him
Penguin
have
power.
his. Let him have his due, man.
And I got nothing wrong with the kid. He's averaged over 20 points. It's not his fault that he grew up later, that COVID gave him
Wait a
an
minute.
extra
So he
year.
got an extra season with COVID?
Absolutely.
Wait
This is his
a minute
fifth
now.
year.
Wait
this
a
is
minute.
his fifth
I don't know
year.
about that.
5 years
Versus
versus
three.
3 years.
Uh,
Shot clock, no
COVID
shot clock.
year, a
three,
fifth year,
no-
right?
Absolutely.
So 2 years more than Pete. And
I
he's
don't know about that.
struggling.
I'd have
60
to really
games
struggle
currently.
with that
Like
one.
I
man.
said,
4
Pete-
years, I'd give him a break.
And
5
big
years,
asterisk.
no.
and
huge asterisk.
And-
and,
I
it,
just-
and it ain't no medical, Rich.
No. And just for the record, I say 60 games more, and you might think, okay, well, that's a few games more. Do you know how many games Pistol Pete played in his entire college career? 83.
Well,
So
you got to remember
60
they didn't
more than-
have.
that's
They didn't
almost
have.
double
Wait a
his
minute.
career.
Hold on. They didn't have a 64-team tournament back then.
Correct.
You're
32, right?
back then. I don't even think they had the
And-
SEC
and you-
tournament back then when he played, and you didn't have the,
Only
what
the
was
top
it?
team could make the
you
tournament.
didn't have all these tournament games, preseason tournaments. You didn't have what's that one in Hawaii that they played? What
83.
was
Maui
that called?
Invitational.
Maui
Shannon always
Invitational.
played over there,
Sha-
yeah.
You don't have those tournaments anymore. You don't have any of that. So Pistol Pete didn't play in all that stuff, and you had your regular season. You probably had probably your few preseason games, your rivalry games, and then you played the SEC, and then you didn't have the SEC tournament because the SEC tournament didn't come to the late 70s.
And not to mention everything else, the fact of the matter is that Detroit Mercy, well, that's good. And once again, I'm not condemning you or your school or the NCAA giving you a fifth year. But Pistol Pete was playing at the SEC level.
Okay.
He's playing bigger schools. He's not playing Muskrat State and Northwest
Is there a
South.
nickname Love?
Northwest
Love?
South,
Wait a minute.
Wisconsin,
Now. How many?
Episcopal.
What conference is Detroit Mercy in?
Detroit Mercy is in.
Wait, hold on. They're not in. Are they in the Ohio Valley Conference?
No,
no,
they're not in
WC.
mine. They're not in mine.
Are they in the? They're not in the Missouri Valley.
I learned last
They
night.
might be in the NEC.
Buddy of my game, I went to Buddy where they're looking it up, told me that the OVC tournament used to be played at Rupp Arena because it was centrally located.
No.
Yeah.
I don't
it was.
remember
He
the
showed me
OVC
that.
tournament played at Rupp.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. It might have.
I
But
hate looking
It
at
might have
Down
been
too
before
long.
Morehead State was here. Yeah.
no, Morehead is one of the charter members
Are
of the
they?
OVC.
Yeah.
Now I remember my thing is I didn't really keep up with Morehead there in the when I graduated until Donnie Tyndall became the coach.
Yeah.
You know, he called me on the phone one day and I
Who you
said
got,
we
ATI?
were so bad.
Horizon.
The Horizon League.
Horizon
Horizon
League.
League.
How many teams are in there?
I think there's either 8 or 12. It's got Cleveland State and one of the maybe Northern Kentucky.
The Norsemen.
So
Yes.
Pete,
Norse.
Pistol Pete's record's on the horizon. Is that what they're saying?
Stop.
I go by the teams, man. Like I don't think the SEC didn't have that many teams back.
No, they
back
didn't.
no,
then either.
and my only thing is that because it is a big school like an LSU, they were going to play somebody. Detroit Mercy's playing 2 tough games a year. Something like that. Preseason. Yeah, we're playing this team, we're playing that team. That's not what Pistol Pete was doing.
No, it wasn't.
And you had zones. A lot of them played zones.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Zones with no shot
I
clocks.
saw KSU play
No
zone
shot
last
clock.
night for the first time all year. They played zones because they got so much foul trouble. But, yeah,
I just
and it wasn't
remember,
pretty.
North Carolina had 4 corners and
We were talking about that earlier.
Oh, dude, just
Raleigh
take a,
Massimino, Villanova.
Yeah, take a gun and shoot me. I'm glad I didn't have to pay to watch that crap. 4 corners.
Well, yeah. All right.
But they won. I can't argue with Dean Smith. They won.
I wasn't a Dean Smith fan either.
Phil Ford, he was good.
Yeah. Val Bono was my man. I love Jimmy B. Tell me, Marlon, who you think are going to be in the Final Four? Because we don't know if we'll have you back on the show before then. Have you got 4 teams in mind you think should be
Nah,
there?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. I think it's one of them wide open tournaments this year. I don't think the top seeds. I think this is one of them years where the ones will go down a little bit. I think. I don't think there's a dominant team with a dominant player that's going to just go in the tournament and dominate it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh, no, because we're talking about Ely at Purdue. I thought he was 3 weeks ago. I thought he was the guy that was going to put Purdue over the top. But I think the Big Ten has found out how to beat Purdue. To double down
the
on
Big Ten
him.
has not found out how to beat Purdue. We shot 29% in the second half against
You
Indiana.
talk about
Was he-
one
is he
game,
a
but how many
Boilermaker?
games have they lost?
We did that. We've lost
Purdue.
4 games.
Like in the last 3 weeks.
Correct.
Yes.
You're a
but
Boilermaker?
yes, I'm a
There's-
Boilermaker.
Really?
No, he's
Yes.
actually an owl, but that's a different
I'm
story.
a Boilermaker.
When was the last time they went to Final Four? 1980?
1979.
79?
Yes.
That was the year of Magic and Bird.
No, it was 80. Wasn't
It must have.
Must have
It's
been
either
the next year.
79 or 80.
It's probably
It was
79,
anyway.
80.
80, because I
Yeah.
remember Louisville. Didn't Louisville beat them?
UCLA.
UCLA.
UCLA beat
Yeah.
them, and then Louisville
Who's
beat
going to the
UCLA.
Final
So that
Four
was
this year.
1980.
Purdue's
Okay.
biggest problem in their loss is the one common denominator in every one of their losses is behind the 3-point line. Every time they've lost in the last 2 months, it has been atrocious. 4 for 17 from the line. So at the end of the day, however it works out, you're gonna have to get it open and make that shot come tournament time.
I
Joe
think they're
Barry
gonna wind up
Carroll,
with 3
huh?
seeds.
Yes.
Barry Carroll.
Barry Carroll.
You
That's
know,
1980, man.
Do you remember Walter Jordan that played at Purdue?
Yeah, I grew up watching that. Now I'm
He
gonna,
sat in your seat
I'm
3 weeks ago.
going to date myself. I remember Walter Jordan, and I remember Wayne Walls,
Yeah.
and I remember them playing in the Kentucky Indiana All-Star games as a kid. Their problem was they had to go against Indiana's dynasty teams of the 75, 76 teams that Indiana had, which is when Bobby Knight went undefeated, and they only lost. They were 77-1 back then, man.
Yeah. Well, Walter sat in your seat 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And
I remember watching number 34. I
yeah,
remember watching
he was
him play.
awesome. And, he got inducted to the Hall of Fame last weekend on his birthday
At-
Purdue.
They waited that long?
Yeah.
It did.
Good
Yeah.
God, I'm glad he lived that long.
let
Good, no,
alone-
that's
But wait,
ridiculous.
I got one more thing I got to say, Marlon.
That's ridiculous.
You know what you said about dating yourself?
Uh-huh.
You know what? I think even you can do better than you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's
Okay,
a new one. I hadn't heard that one. Okay,
Hey,
I'll
I
give you
just
that one.
wanna
That's a
point-
touche one.
We were talking about Horizon and how many teams. There's 11 teams, but listen to these teams: Youngstown State, Milwaukee, Cleveland State, Northern Kentucky, Oakland, Wright State, Robert Morris, PFW, Detroit, IUPUI,
Ooey pooey.
Ooey Pooey,
What is
and Green
PFW?
and,
Purdue Fort Wayne.
Okay.
and Green Bay. So not exactly a juggernaut that he's having to go through to try to break the record.
All right, cool.
Now,
All
where'd
right.
you go to college? Right.
What's
Where'd
that?
you go to school?
I actually took 2 classes right down the road.
So you're an owl.
I am the only thing I've ever been called from my college career is an owl.
I was an owl first. Went to KJC.
There was only 5 buildings back when Chuck was there.
How did you know that?
I might have seen this show before.
We've heard that story
You
before.
were before Betty Siegel, probably.
Yeah,
Right? Way
yeah.
to go, man.
Yeah, go Owls. I was one of the first 75, graduated my associate degree, and then went to Southern. But,
75.
yeah.
Chuck, who do you got? Who's looking good on your Final Four?
Well, I don't want to go too deep, and I
You're
want,
the one who
I
asked
want,
the question.
I won't.
If
well,
Chuck
'cause-
writes down,
yeah, but
who will be the
But
one
Marlon's not
seed?
gonna be on.
But he doesn't want to
Oh
share
no, no.
his.
If you'll be quiet a second, I'll tell you. I really want to focus on the final 2. I've got UCLA and Kansas, and I think I'm going to pick UCLA. I've watched them play. They play good ball. Like Marlon said earlier, you have to play good in March, and they're playing good ball right now.
It's the hottest team.
Yeah.
You know, I remember Denny Crum in my cards growing up in Louisville, man. That March was when Denny took off. You know?
Yeah. But that's why I can't wait for the brackets to come out, because I want to see who falls where. And that's what's fun. And we'll have a contest, too, here on Three Guys Who Love Sports about who's won. And I did
We
win
need
it
a
last
Three
year when
Guys
I had
Love
Kansas.
Sports bracket, man. We need
Oh,
one.
we
did it.
With March
We did it
Madness
last year.
bracket, man.
Oh, we'll have one.
We did it
Yeah,
last
let's
year.
do it.
I picked Kansas. I won it last
I
year.
kind of like KU in Arizona. I think
Kentucky
that,
and Arizona or Kansas?
Kansas.
Yeah.
Two cheaters. I can't root for either one of them.
I'd rather be a cheater than a sorry basketball team like Purdue. So
You know-
we'll
you know
see.
what-
Hey.
I
I'll
just-
root for
Hey,
Purdue over
hey,
those two. I
hey.
can't stand
Let me,
cheaters,
let me
man.
ask you this question. This is a good
Make
question
it
for you
quick, because
guys.
we need to get off.
Oh, it's okay. We can talk forever. Everybody's loving this show wherever you are, and we appreciate that. Listen to these teams: Houston, Alabama, Kansas, UCLA, Purdue, Baylor, Arizona, Texas. That's a pretty powerful top 9. Guess what?
All
There's
from the-
one
most
there's
from the
one
Big
team
12.
in the top 9 that I didn't mention just then. You know who it is? Marquette. Marquette is ranked 6th. So if there's a couple losses in these conference tournaments, any chance Marquette gets a 1?
Shaka Smart.
Is there any chance?
Is that-
there's-
he-
Shaka
he used to
Smart.
coach
Are
Texas,
they-
Shaka
right? And
Smart
went up
has
there,
took
yeah.
VCU. He's done a good job
Oh,
in
no
that tournament,
doubt
man.
about it. But are they going to top out as a 2?
Yes.
Is there any chance
Yeah.
they could get a 1?
Yeah,
No.
I think Purdue's going down to a 3. I think they're going to wind up at 3.
What?
A 3 basically
What?
means they're anywhere from 9th to 12th in the country. So
Yeah.
I really don't know about that.
They'll be a 2. They won't be a 3.
Well, it
see.
depends on this final
We'll see.
week. Next
We'll
week
see.
and a half.
We'll see.
You got to finish strong.
Yeah.
You do have to finish strong.
All right. Guys, as always,
All
what,
right,
what a great
Marquette.
We
show.
have a.
man.
We
I
have
like
a.
Marquette.
You remember who Bo Ellis was?
Number 31,
You
played
know-
with Butch Lee.
Yeah, but what did Bo Ellis do that was really cool about Marquette?
He untucked the shirt.
No, he designed the uniform.
Right,
for
because
Bo
Marquette
Ellis
didn't. Marquette never tucked in their shirts under Al McGuire.
because
I
they had that
remember
little swirl under the
And,
bottom of the
you know,
shirt. Yeah.
my Marquette team that I remember was Rupp's last victory was against Marquette.
And ATI, that was going to be my stump you question today. What former basketball player designed his team's uniforms?
Bo Ellis. That was
Bo
good.
Ellis and Marquette.
I like the Bo, and they won it in '77 right here at the Omni.
Yep. Yeah, he sure did.
Just make sure we kind of skipped over it, but make sure you tell Libby when you get home that Robert assured you that Aaron will be in Green Bay. Aaron will be in Green Bay.
For another
Oh,
15
yeah.
months. Hey,
My
the
wife
GM
owns a
says
share of the
no.
Packers, man.
I
She
know she
loves
does.
she loves Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if he's going to be worth $59 million, man.
Yeah,
I'd
nobody
have to
worth
say
$59
thanks for the memories, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for being with us this weekend. This week on
Good
Three
show,
Guys
man.
Who Love
God,
Sports.
that was a quick
Go
one.
Owls.
And we will.
Go Owls.
Don't forget, take care of yourselves. Cover your ass. Protect your. Get your prostate checked, and be good. We'll see you next Wednesday right here at Miller's Ale House for Three Guys Who Love Sports. Hoo-hoo!